Ethan, 7 tonight, Sky Palace, engagement banquet. Don't be late. The voice on the other end of the phone was as cold as an ice shard in midwinter, without the slightest trace of emotion. I jerked awake and sat bolt upright from the soft bed, my mind a complete fog. Who am I? Where am I? Memories flooded in like a breach dam. Me, Ethan, an ordinary 21st century corporate drone. I was up late last night, finishing a project, and the next thing I knew, I blinked and had transmigrated into a book. I'd slipped into a mindless, satisfying web novel I had just finished reading. And I become the top cannon fodder villain who shared the same name as in the book. A wastrel who, apart from money and handsome face, was good for nothing. And the ice-cold beauty on the other end of the phone was the heroine of the book, my fiancée, Taylor Group's icy CEO, Sophia. According to the original plot, at tonight's engagement banquet a bootlicking cannon fodder, would desperately try to please Sophia and recklessly court disaster, only to be slapped down by the sky-descending Dragon King male lead victor, becoming the city's laughingstock. After that, my life rode a roller coaster straight downward, ending with my family destroyed and my death, a miserable finale. Sophia, on the other hand, would be drawn to Dragon King hero Victor's dominance and talent, throw herself into his arms, and enact a tragic love story of she runs, he chases, and neither can escape, filled with mutual suffering. A chill ran through me. To hell with that plot. To hell with the Dragon King. Being worked like a beast in my last life was exhausting enough. Since this life has handed me the identity of a top, rich second generation. 8-pack abs of a V-line. So handsome, it's blasphemous. If I don't just lie back and enjoy it, why would I become some bootlicking cannon fodder? Did someone slam a door on my brain? Hello? Ethan, are you listening? There was a trace of impatience in Sophia's voice. She probably thought I was up to some trick again. I cleared my throat and, speaking into the phone with an unprecedented calm, began. Miss Taylor, I think there may be a misunderstanding between us. Silence on the other end of the line. She obviously didn't expect me to react like that. In her memory, Ethan, had always been completely obedient to her, listening to everything she said, willing to practically lay my heart bare for her. What misunderstanding? Her voice took on a trace of wariness. I smiled, turned over and got out of bed, bare feet sinking into the soft sheepskin rug, and walked to the huge floor-to-ceiling window, looking out at the bustling city. The misunderstanding is that I'm not interested in you, nor in the Taylor family. So, I want to uphold this engagement. Let's call off our betrothal. I said it as casually as if remarking on the weather is nice today. Silence like the grave on the other end of the line. I could even picture the look of shock on Sophia's icy face at that moment. After a full 10 seconds, her cold voice sounded again, laden with scrutiny and doubt. Ethan, what game are you playing now? Playing hard to get? Don't waste your schemes. I will never fall for someone like you. I snorted. Miss Taylor, you think too highly of yourself. I was naive before, but now I get it. Marrying a cold, icy woman like you. Do you expect me to bring home an ice sculpture to worship? I'm Ethan. I may be a jerk, but I'm not going to sabotage my own chance at happiness for the rest of my life. Fine. The contract to annul the engagement. I'll have my lawyer deliver it to your office tomorrow. Goodbye. After saying that, I didn't give her any chance to argue. I hung up immediately, set my phone to silent, and tossed it back onto the bed. The world grew quiet. I stretched and felt the surging strength in this young body. 8-pack abs, yet the real deal. The man in the mirror had arched brows and bright eyes, a high-nosed bridge, truly a face that could make countless women scream. Most importantly, the wealth and power of the Johnson family would allow me to live in this world more comfortably than an emperor, as long as I don't provoke those two destined children. Mr. Johnson, you're awake? A middle-aged man wearing a butler's uniform respectfully knocked on the door. I recognized him. The Johnson family's longtime butler, loyal and devoted. Butler, come in. The butler entered, carrying a neatly ironed custom suit. Mr. Johnson, This is the formal wear prepared for your engagement banquet tonight. I wave my hand. Toss it. The butler froze, hand suspended in midair, looking bewildered. Mr. Johnson, throw them out. I repeated, walked to the wardrobe, casually pulled out a set of comfortable loungewear and changed. Also, notify everyone to fire those messy so-called senior consultants of the house. Their pay will continue for this month. Those so-called consultants were all expensive hires by the original owner, brought in only to put on a show of status in front of Sophia. Also, book the private chef at Imperial Kitchen for me. Tell them I'm coming tonight to try their Buddha jumps over the wall. Breaking off the engagement, not going? The butler's mouth opened wide enough to fit an egg. I'm not going. I patted his shoulder. Butler, from today on, this young master has decided. I'm going to lie flat. Butler looked completely bewildered. I didn't explain further. Whistling, I walked out of the room. Lying flat, it starts with enjoying a good meal. As for Sophia and that so-called Dragon King male lead, I wish you a happy marriage for 100 years. Just don't come bother me. Sky Palace. In the resplendent banquet hall, guests gathered in droves, their perfume and elegant silhouettes filling the air. Sophia wore a bespoke white evening gown, like a goddess atop a snowy peak, aloof and noble. But at this moment, her exquisitely beautiful face was overlaid with a layer of icy frost. It was already 7:15. Ethan isn't here yet. Her phone lay quietly in her clutch, without a single message. This would have been impossible before. That man wanted to be stuck to her 24 hours a day. How could he possibly be late to such an important engagement party? Sophia, what's going on? Where's that kid from the Johnsons? Mr. Taylor walked over with a frown, his face looking rather unpleasant. Sophia bit her lip, unsure how to explain. Should she tell her father that Ethan said over the phone he wanted to call off the engagement? If she said that, who would believe it? Who in the whole circle didn't know that Ethan loved her madly, willing to do anything for her? He's doing it on purpose, trying to manipulate you that way. Beside her, a woman in a pink gown, strikingly beautiful, spoke, her tone full of contempt. She was Sophia's close friend, the Zhao family's heiress, Catherine. Sophia said nothing, but the same thought quietly arose in her mind, feigning restraint to provoke pursuit. Ethan was definitely trying to use this method to draw her attention, to make her reach out to him first. How childish and laughable. She, Sophia, how could she possibly be manipulated by such a crude tactic? He can come or not. Sophia spat coldly, picked up a glass of champagne, and turned away, leaving the crowd with a proud back. She had decided, even if Ethan knelt and begged her today, she absolutely would not forgive him. At this moment, I was in the VIP room of Imperial Kitchen, savoring the delights of the world. A steaming Buddha jumps over the wall was brought to the table. When the lid was lifted, the rich aroma instantly took over the entire room. I took a deep breath and squinted my eyes in satisfaction. Truly worthy of a national banquet chef skill. I poured myself a glass of the 10-year aged wine I had brought and kept hidden. The smooth wine went down my throat, and paired with the rich, savory broth, it was simply a divine pleasure. What engagement banquet, what ICCO, what could compare to the aroma of Buddha jumps over the wall? Mr. Johnson, a call from the Taylor family. The butler walked in holding a spare phone, his expression somewhat odd. My personal phone had long been switched off. I didn't look up. I picked up a piece of soft, glutinous sea cucumber. He hung up. It's Mr. Taylor calling personally. Butler whispered a reminder. I said hang up. I sharpened my tone a few degrees. From now on, do not answer any calls from the Taylor household at all. Understand? Yes, yes. Butler was startled, hurriedly nodding, and quickly ended the call. He watched me leisurely enjoying the food. His whole person plunged into great confusion. Young master, what exactly has he been through to react like this? He even dares to refuse Mr. Taylor's face. Is he trying to overturn the world? At the same time, in the banquet hall, Mr. Taylor hung up the phone, his face already as black as the bottom of a pot. How dare he? How dare he? Ethan's butler actually hung up on me. The guests nearby heard the commotion and turned curious glances, whispers breaking out. What's going on? Has the eldest son of the Johnsons not arrived yet? I heard he stood up the Taylors. What nerve. A good-for-nothing playboy with no skills, relying on his family's money. Really thinks he's somebody? Sophia's expression grew even colder. The fingers holding the wine glass whitened from pressure. Ethan, you are very good. You have successfully angered me. Just then, a commotion arose at the entrance of the banquet hall. A young man in an ordinary jacket, his gaze as sharp as an eagle's, walked in. He scanned the room, his eyes finally settling on Sophia, a devilish smile curling at the corner of his mouth. Isn't it lonely for such a beautiful young lady to drink alone? Sophia frowned, about to scold. Her close friend Catherine, however, brightened and whispered, Sophia, look, he seems to be the Victor the first mentioned to you, the one who's recently been making a name for himself in the business world. Sophia felt a stir in her heart. Victor, that self-made man who, in just half a year, had created a business miracle. She looked at him, and for some reason, her heart skipped a beat. A strange sense of fate arose unbidden. I, however, knew nothing of it and had no interest whatsoever. After eating and drinking my fill, I let out a contented belch. Butler, tomorrow help me get the suburban villa with the hot spring ready. I'm planning to move over there for a few days. Also hire a few more chefs, regional cuisines from every place. I want them all. Also, take out that least conspicuous domestic electric car from my garage. For now on, I'll ride that. Sports cars are too noisy. Butler wrote it down while feeling his worldview being overturned. How was this young master lying flat? This was basically wanting to live the retired cadre life ahead of schedule. The next day, I woke up refreshed on the 1,000-square-meter big bed. Sunlight poured in through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, warm and pleasant. No bothersome calls, no cold commands, just birdsong and the scent of flowers. This feeling was exhilarating to the bone. I was about to go exercise when Butler knocked and came in, his expression even stranger than yesterday. Mr. Johnson, Miss Sophia is here. I raised an eyebrow. Sophia? What is she here for? To come and demand an explanation? According to the original story, by now she should have already hit it off with the Dragon King male lead Victor. How does she still have time to come looking for a cannon fodder like me? Let her wait. I lazily waved my hand and walked into the gym by myself. An hour later, I walked out sweating profusely, my whole body feeling refreshed. In the living room, Sophia sat upright with her back perfectly straight, wearing a sharp professional suit that made her look like a snow lotus about to give off a chill. When she saw me coming down in a tank top and shorts, my hair still wet, her pretty brows immediately knitted. In her eyes was undisguised disgust and contempt. Ethan, have you had your fun? The moment she spoke, it was that haughty, interrogating tone. I took a bottle of water from the fridge and gulped down more than half of it, then lazily looked at her. Miss Taylor, what do you mean by that? How did I make a scene? Why didn't you come to the engagement banquet last night? She demanded, her voice icy. I smiled. Miss Taylor, didn't I make myself very clear on the phone yesterday? We were going to break off the engagement. Since it was being broken off, why would I go to the engagement banquet? To watch you and your new lover flirt with each other. You. Sophia was so stunned by me that she couldn't speak, her chest heaving violently. She took a deep breath, seemingly doing her best to suppress her anger. The annulment agreement? She extended her hand and said coldly, Oh, that. I smacked my forehead. Forgot. Sophia's voice shot up. She could hardly believe her ears. Something so important. And he actually said he forgot? Yeah, I looked innocent. I was too busy eating Buddha jumps over the wall yesterday. Such delicious food. Who has time to think of anything else? Miss Taylor, you've never had it, right? TSK. One of life's great regrets. Sophia stared at me hard, her gaze as if she wanted to gouge 2 holes right through me. She realized that the Ethan in front of her was completely different from the person she remembered. The old him always looked at her with obsession and adoration, speaking cautiously as if afraid of displeasing her. But now his gaze was clear, his manners casual, his words filled with mockery and indifference. Yes, indifference. It was as if she, Sophia, was no different in his eyes from any random cat or dog by the roadside. This enormous gap made her feel an unprecedented irritation and a loss of control. Ethan, I don't have time for your jokes. The agreement, give it to me right now. What's the rush? I walked up to her and looked down from above. Miss Taylor, do you really think you can't live without me? Sophia didn't say anything, but her haughty expression already said it all. I leaned down, moved close to her ear, and in a voice only the two of us could hear, softly said, "What a pity you're mistaken. This world doesn't revolve around you. The so-called icy goddess aura you think you have, to me it's nothing but a sign of sexual frigidity." Warm breath sprayed against her ear. Sophia stiffened all over, her cheeks flushing bright red in an instant. It wasn't shyness, it was anger. In all her life, no one had ever dared speak to her so flippantly, so rudely. "You shameless!" She sprang to her feet, but moving so hastily, she twisted her high heel and lost control, stumbling backwards. I instinctively reached out and swept her into my arms, cradling her soft waist. Feels nice. Just too thin, it's uncomfortably bony. Sophia bumped into a solid, warm embrace and smelled a fresh scent of sweat and a faint trace of male pheromones. Her mind went completely blank. She could clearly feel, through the thin fabric, the firm muscular lines on a man's arm. Is that good-for-nothing Ethan? When did he get such a great physique? Miss Taylor, there's no need to rush throwing yourself into my arms. Is there? My teasing voice sounded over her head. Sophia woke, as if from a dream, shoved me away like she'd been electrocuted, her face a mix of red and white. Who threw themselves into my arms? Let go of me. I let go accordingly, spread my hands, wearing an expression that said, "You pressed yourself against me. The contract. I'll have Butler deliver it to your company tomorrow." I dismissed her. "Now you may leave. Safe travels, no see-off." Sophia steadied herself in embarrassment, staring at my stubborn, unswayable face, trembling with anger. Before she came, she had imagined countless possibilities. Ethan would weep and beg her for forgiveness. Ethan would hysterically question her. Ethan would entangle her in even crazier ways. But the only thing she hadn't expected was that he would look like this, completely unconcerned. She felt as if she'd punched cotton, all the force with nowhere to go. "Fine, Ethan, just you wait. You'll regret this." Dropping that empty threat, Sophia clicked away in her high heels and stormed out without looking back. I watched her retreating figure and shook my head. Regret? The one who should be regretting is you, my ex-fiancé. After seeing Sophia off, I was in high spirits, humming a little tune as I began planning my master plan of taking it easy. First, food. Food is the foundation of the people. Having mistreated my stomach in my previous life, I must make up for it in this one. I had Butler contact the country's top private chefs, sign long-term contracts, and have them take turns cooking for me. Then living. The villa downtown was too noisy, so I moved directly to a hot spring villa in the suburbs. It sits by the mountains and water, the air is fresh, and there's a huge natural hot spring pool, practically a paradise for retirement. Finally, pleasure. I had Butler help me gather all kinds of old-fashioned brewing recipes, planning to do it myself to ensure we had plenty to eat and wear. Wine, rice wine, fruit wine. Just looking at those recipes already had me excited. Butler looked at the list I made and was completely stunned. "Mr. Johnson, what are you doing? Enjoy life." I patted his shoulder, speaking earnestly. "Butler, you only live once. Being happy is the most important thing." Butler nodded, half understanding. He could only feel that ever since the young master ran off from the engagement banquet, he'd become like a different person. Although his behavior seemed even more unconventional than before, those eyes of his were 1,000 times brighter than they used to be. It was a kind of relaxation and happiness that radiated from the inside out. In the afternoon, I soaked in the open-air hot spring, drinking ice-cold lemonade, looking at the distant green mountains and waters, feeling that life had reached its peak. Just then, my new phone rang. It was an unknown number. I picked it up casually and switched to speaker. "Hello, who is this? Is this Mr. Ethan?" "I'm Emma." A clear, sweet, soft voice came through like cotton candy, pleasantly sweet. "Emma?" I paused for a moment, then fished the name out from the corner of my memory. In the original novel, a cannon fodder supporting female character who appears for less than 3 chapters. She's a daughter of a fallen noble family. Because she's beautiful, the original protagonist took a fancy to her and tried to force her into being his kept woman. But the Dragon King male lead heroically saved the beauty and incidentally slapped the original protagonist in the face. Wait, the plot seems wrong. I haven't even had time to provoke her, so why did she take the initiative to call me? "Emma, do I know you?" I asked, feigning ignorance. Emma on the other end of the line seemed a bit nervous. Her voice grew softer. "No, we don't know each other. But, Mr. Johnson, I want to ask you for a favor." "A favor." I laughed. "We're not related. We don't know each other. Why should I help you?" I can pay you," she said urgently. "I know a street vendor that's especially delicious. Their roasted pig trotters are the best in the whole city. I'll treat you." Me, this girl, does she have a somewhat peculiar train of thought? Offering a roasted pig's trotter meal to persuade a second-generation billionaire to help? Interesting. What kind of help? I was slightly intrigued. My younger brother is sick and hospitalized. He needs a large sum for the surgery. I heard that you were looking for a culinary assistant before. The pay is very high. Look at me. May I? I can cook many dishes. I know a bit of cuisines from all over. Her voice was full of pleading and unease. I fell silent. So that's how it was. In the original work, her brother really did fall seriously ill. It was because of that she had nowhere to turn and was forced by the original owner. Unexpectedly, the timeline had been advanced by so much. "Where's that roasted pig trotter you mentioned?" I suddenly asked. Emma froze. Send me the address. I'll go try it tonight. If it's good, I might consider helping you." After saying that, I hung up. It wasn't that my saintly compassion kicked in. I suddenly remembered a line from the original book. Emma's grandfather had been the imperial chef of the previous generation and retired into seclusion. Her little cooking skills were probably not as little as she claimed. For the sake of my appetite, I can help with that favor. That evening, I gave the address and had the driver take that low-key domestic electric car to a bustling, lively night market. As soon as I got out of the car, the air was filled with the aroma of cumin and chili. I spotted the roast pig's trotter stall at a glance. In front of the stall, a girl wearing a white dress was anxiously looking around. Her skin was fair, her features delicate, and her eyes like a young deer's, clear and pure. When she saw me, her eyes lit up and she hurried over. "Mr. Johnson?" It was Emma. She was even prettier than I had imagined, an unassuming, refreshing kind of beauty that put people at ease. "It's me." I nodded. You really came." She looked both surprised and delighted, 2 cute little dimples appearing on her cheeks. "Boss, 2 roasted pig's trotters, extra spicy," I said directly to the vendor. Soon, 2 pig's trotters, roasted crispy on the outside and tender inside, sprinkled with seasoning, were brought over. I picked one up and took a bite. The skin was charred, fragrant, and crispy, while the meat inside was soft, glutinous, and springy, full of collagen. The spiciness was just right. Any more would be harsh, any less would be bland. Delicious. My eyes lit up, and in no time at all I finished one. Emma stood beside me, watching nervously, her hands clutching the hem of her clothes. "How is it?" "Tasty. Not bad." I wiped my mouth and said calmly, pretending, "Seeing how sincere you are, I'll approve your request." "Really?" She widened her eyes in delight. "Report to my place tomorrow. I'll send you the address later. As for the salary," I thought for a moment, "make it the amount your brother needs for his surgery, paid monthly." Emma's eyes immediately reddened. She faced me and bowed deeply. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. You are truly a good person. I waved my hand. No need to give me a nice guy card. I'm just an unremarkable, laid-back, rich, second generation who wants to satisfy my appetite. Emma's arrival immediately raised the quality of my laid-back life by several levels. She's simply a treasure of a girl. Not only is she an excellent cook who blends regional cuisines seamlessly, she also always manages to make some novel and delicious little treats. More importantly, she's soft and adorable in personality, has an excellent temper, and when she smiles there are two small dimples that are especially comforting. My daily life turned into eating, soaking in hot springs, and watching Emma cook. Occasionally, I'd step in myself to show off some brewing techniques I learned from ancient recipes. Emma rested her chin on her hand, sitting on the small stool beside me, watching me like a curious child. Ethan, you're amazing. You even know how to brew. After spending so much time together, she was bold enough to call me by my name. Basic skills, I said, feigning solemnity, though inside I was pleased as punch. Is this rice wine? It smells so good. She leaned over like a little cat, sniffing at the jar of wine I had just opened. Want to try some? I raised an eyebrow. She nodded eagerly. I poured her a small cup. The milky white liquid gave off a sweet, delicate rice fragrance. She took a cautious sip, and her eyes instantly lit up like stars. So good. Sweet, not spicy at all. Seeing how satisfied she was, my mood lifted too. If you like it, drink more. It turned out the girl couldn't hold her liquor. After a small cup of rice wine, 2 red flushes bloomed on her fair cheeks, and her eyes grew dreamy. She suddenly leaned toward me, stretched out a tender white finger, and poked my abdominal muscles. Wow, so hard. Me, this kid, gets bold when drunk? Ethan, your body is so nice. She giggled foolishly, her fingers restlessly wandering over me. My body stiffened, a wave of heat uncontrollably rushing down to my lower abdomen. Damn, this body's reactions are way too honest. I grabbed her mischievous little hand, my voice a little hoarse. Don't struggle. Why? She tilted her head and looked at me with an innocent expression, her big watery eyes full of puzzlement. Because I took a deep breath and lifted her up from the ground. She was very light, like a cloud. If you move again, I won't be able to resist throwing you into the hot spring to boil. I carried her back to her room, laid her on the bed, and tucked the blanket over her. Watching her peaceful sleeping face, I smiled helplessly and turned to leave. Young man, restrain yourself. We are a proper/legitimate literary work. The next day, Emma woke up with no memory at all of what she had done. She just inexplicably blushed when she saw me. I didn't call out either. I simply continued enjoying the food she fed me. Those days were peaceful and pleasant, until an uninvited guest arrived. That day I was sunning myself in the yard when Butler let a man in a suit and tie inside. Mr. Johnson, this is Mr. Lee from the Taylor Group. I opened my eyes and saw a man wearing gold-rimmed glasses with a shrewd-looking face. Mr. Johnson, hello. Mr. Lee bowed to me, his manner so deferential there was nothing to fault. Our Miss Taylor would like to ask a favor of you. I laughed. Sophia? What does she want this time? Mr. Lee pushed up his glasses and said, the company has run into a big problem recently. An important overseas project was suddenly and unilaterally terminated by our partner, causing a huge gap in the cash flow. We found traces of Victor behind this. Victor, the Dragon King, male lead finally began to make a move. According to the original story, this crisis was a trap he deliberately set up to play hero and save the beauty. He would appear at Sophia's most desperate moment, turn the tide, and thereby completely win the icy goddess's heart. So, I asked lazily, her cash flow's broken. What does that have to do with me? I'm not a bank. Mr. Lee's expression was somewhat awkward. Miss Taylor means that she hopes the Johnsons will, in view of past ties, lend a helping hand. If she can get through this crisis, Miss Taylor is willing to consider remarrying you. Remarry? I felt like I had heard the biggest joke in the world and burst out laughing. Ha ha ha. Mr. Lee looked bewildered by my sudden laughter. Mr. Lee, go back and tell Sophia. I wiped the smile off my face, my gaze turning cold. First, there is no affection between her and me. Second, if you wanted to help, fine. Let her come and beg me in person. Third, and this is the most important, tell her not to talk about remarrying. Even if she stripped naked and lay in my bed right now, I'd still think she's in the way. Get lost. Mr. Lee almost fled in panic. I can imagine how delightful Sophia's expression will be when he repeats my exact words to her. Emma carried a plate of freshly sliced fruit over, looking at me with some concern. Ethan, saying it like that. Wouldn't that be a bit inappropriate? What's inappropriate about it? I picked up a piece of watermelon, speaking nonchalantly. She came to my door asking for scolding. I'm just giving her what she asked for. Emma gave a half-understanding nod and didn't ask anymore. She was very smart. She knew what to ask and what not to ask. I like her sense of restraint. By the way, has your brother's surgery been scheduled? I changed the subject. At the mention of her brother, Emma's face immediately lit up with a grateful smile. It's already arranged. The surgery is next week. The doctor says the success rate is very high. Ethan, thank you so much. What are you thanking me for? You cook for me. I pay you a salary. It's only right. I waved my hand. Seeing her sincere smile, I felt the money was well spent. In the afternoon, I was studying a new brewing recipe when Butler came again. This time, his expression was even more remarkable, as if he'd seen a ghost. Mr. Johnson, Miss Sophia, she came on her own. I looked up and indeed saw Sophia standing at the courtyard gate. She had taken off her cold professional outfit and put on a simple, elegant dress. There was even light makeup on her face, an attempt to make herself look softer. Unfortunately, the pride and resentment in those eyes still betrayed her. She probably thought that lowering herself and coming in person was doing me a huge favor. Too bad, she was mistaken. To me, her face was worthless. I ignored her and kept my head down, studying my cocktail recipes. Emma looked at me somewhat at a loss, then glanced towards Sophia at the door. Ethan, go. Pour her a glass of plain water. I ordered without looking up. Oh. Emma obediently left. Sophia stood there, her face turning pale then flushed. She was the president of Taylor Group, coming in person, and Ethan, that bastard, actually dared to treat her so dismissively. She took a deep breath, walked in on her high heels, and stood in front of me. Ethan, we need to talk. I pretended not to hear and muttered to myself, this glutinous rice needs to be soaked for 12 hours first. The heat is the key. Ethan! Sophia raised her voice. I finally looked up, wearing an expression of impatience as I stared at her. Miss Taylor, you're very loud. You know? You're interrupting my academic research. Academics? Is researching winemaking considered academia? Sophia was so angry she almost spat blood. At that moment, Emma came over carrying a cup of plain water and handed it to her cautiously. Miss Taylor, please have some water. Sophia saw Emma, a flash of jealousy and contempt crossing her eyes. She recognized the woman. A few days ago, Mr. Lee's investigation report to her had included her photo. A fallen noblewoman whose family has declined, forced to go out and work to earn money. Did Ethan refuse her for the sake of a woman like that? Has he gone crazy? Who are you? Do you have any right to speak here? Sophia said to Emma coldly. Emma shrank back, frightened by her icy gaze, and looked to me for help. I put down the recipe in my hand and stood up. Walking over to Emma, I reached out and pulled her in my arms, then looked coldly at Sophia. Miss Taylor, let me introduce you. This is Emma, my culinary assistant, my person. Now, tell me, does she have the right to speak here? My actions and words were like two loud slaps, striking Sophia hard across the face. She watched me protect Emma, watched the way Emma clung to me like a little bird, and a surge of humiliation and anger she had never felt before welled up inside her. Once upon a time, that embrace had been hers alone. That man would only look at her with such a cherished gaze. But now, everything has changed. Ethan, Do you have to humiliate me like this? A tremor crept into her voice. Humiliate? I laughed. Miss Taylor, are you under some misunderstanding? From beginning to end, you've been humiliating yourself. You sit up there thinking the whole world should revolve around you. You think that when you snap your fingers, I'll rush to you like before, like a dog. I'm telling you, that's impossible now. Take your pride and arrogance and get out of my place. You're not welcome here. My words pierced the heart with every syllable. Sophia's face went as white as paper in an instant. Sophia left. As she went, her figure was bleak, carrying a sense of unwillingness and humiliation. I watched her vanish at the door, feeling not the slightest ripple in my heart. If today was known, why act as you did back then? Ethan, aren't you being too harsh on her? Emma asked softly in my arms. I looked down at her. Her big eyes were full of worry. I pinched her cheek and smiled. You're just too kind. You can't leave any illusions for women like that. Otherwise, she'll stick to you like a stubborn piece of adhesive and never let go. Emma seemed to vaguely understand, but still nodded and obediently fell silent. I liked her obedience. In the following days, Sophia didn't bother me again. I heard that the crisis at Taylor Group was getting worse and worse. Stock prices plummeted, banks were demanding repayment, and she was already overwhelmed. And the Dragon King hero, Victor, finally, as the script required, made his theatrical entrance. He announced loudly that he would make a strategic investment in Taylor Group. They called it an investment, but it was really opportunism, trying to swallow Taylor Group at the lowest possible cost. Sophia, of course, wasn't stupid. She saw Victor's ambition, but she had no choice. She refused Victor. This infuriated Victor. In his view, he had condescended to save her, and she should gratefully accept it. How could she dare refuse? So he increased the pressure. For a while, the whole business community was watching the Taylor family's embarrassment. All of this information was Butler sharing gossip with me. I listened, just smiled, and went back to studying my winemaking enterprise. That day, a newly brewed jar of peach blossom wine I had made was finally ready. The moment the jar was opened, the whole courtyard was filled with fragrance. I poured a cup for Emma. She took a sip and closed her eyes in bliss. Wow, this is so good. It smells like peach blossoms. Of course, I picked the peach blossoms myself to brew this, I said proudly. The two of us sat in the courtyard facing the green mountains and clear water, tasting fine wine and eating snacks, while a little kitten I had just rescued rolled at our feet. The scene was harmonious and beautiful. Suddenly, the roar of a car shattered the silence. A flashy red Ferrari pulled up at the gate of my villa. The car door opened, and a man stepped out wearing designer clothes, his hair slicked back to a shine, looking every inch the I in the Dragon King type. It was Victor. Sophia followed behind him, her face full of humiliation and unwillingness. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, the male and female leads teaming up to run my villain scenario? Victor strode in, looked at me, then glanced at Emma beside me. A flicker of astonishment crossed his eyes, which immediately turned into deep disdain. You must be Ethan? He appraised me with a scrutinizing look, his tone dripping with lofty arrogance. I couldn't be bothered with him and kept playing with the little kitten by my feet. Victor ignored darkened. I'm talking to you. You useless coward who only hides behind women. I finally looked up and gave him a cold glance. Who are you? Give me your name. I'm Ethan. I don't speak to nobodies. You. Victor choked out. Listen to me. My name is Victor. I'm the chairman of Destiny Group. Oh, Victor. I nodded as if suddenly enlightened. Don't know you. Emma next to him couldn't hold it in and laughed out. She quickly covered her mouth, but those crescent-shaped eyes still revealed her amusement. Victor's face instantly flushed the color of liver. He was the illustrious Dragon King protagonist, always the center of attention wherever he went. And today he was humiliated like this by a spoiled playboy. Ethan, I'm here today to give you a chance. He struggled to contain his anger, pointing at Sophia behind him. If you kneel down right now, apologize to Sophia, and transfer half of the Johnson family's assets to Taylor Group, I might consider letting you off." I stared at him as if he were a fool. "Have you been kicked in the head by a donkey? Have I got to kneel and apologize? Transfer assets? What kind of thing do you think you are? You deserve to negotiate with me." I stood up and walked to him step by step. My height advantage allowed me to look down on him completely. "Victor, right? I don't care whether your fate's chosen or it's curse. I'll tell you one thing." My voice wasn't loud, but it was filled with an unquestionable oppression. "This is my territory. Now, take your woman and get the hell off my territory immediately, right now. Otherwise, I won't mind sending both of you out feet first." The air seemed to freeze. Victor widened his eyes, staring at me in disbelief. Since his debut, he had been invincible thanks to his forward-looking business sense and iron hand. How had he ever been treated like this? A wealthy playboy he regarded as an ant actually dared to tell him to get lost. "You're looking for death." Victor roared, and his fist the size of a clay pot swung toward my face. According to the original story, this useless fifth-rate fighter, would be knocked flying by one of his punches and then trampled under his feet and thoroughly humiliated. Unfortunately, I am no longer the original owner. I work out every day. My physical condition has long since changed beyond recognition. When he launched that fierce punch, I merely tilted my body slightly and easily avoided it. At the same time, I moved like lightning, grabbed his wrist, and gave it a gentle twist. Crack! A crisp cracking of bone rang out. "Ah!" Victor let out a slaughterhouse-like shriek, his whole face contorted and twisted from the agony. My hand is broken." He clutched his warped wrist, writhing on the ground in pain. The whole process was lightning fast. Sophia and Emma beside him were both stunned. Especially Sophia. Her mouth hung open, her beautiful eyes filled with shock. Is this still the Ethan who couldn't even lift a chicken? When did he become so good at fighting? Noisy, I frowned in disgust and kicked Victor in the stomach. He immediately hunched his body like a shrimp. The scream stuck in his throat and couldn't come out. I walked up to him, crouched down, and patted his face, twisted with pain. "Victor, didn't you hear what I just said? I told you to get out. It seems you don't really know how to roll. Need me to teach you?" My tone was very flat, but the chill in my eyes made Victor feel as if he'd fallen into an ice pit. He was afraid. From my eyes, he saw undisguised, murderous intent. This man was not joking. If he didn't get out of here, he would really kill himself. I'll go. He scrambled to his feet, ignoring his broken wrist and the Sophia behind him, and bolted for his Ferrari in a panic. However, he had only taken 2 steps when I called after him. "Stop." Victor's body stiffened, and he turned back trembling. "Leave the car." I pointed to the red Ferrari. "Consider it the cleaning fee for dirtying the ground of my courtyard." Victor went pale, but didn't dare argue. He could only scowl and flee my annex, scrambling away on all fours. The farce ended just like that. I turned around and looked at Sophia, who was still standing frozen in place. The look she gave me was full of complexity. There was shock, fear, and a faint, peculiar gleam she herself hadn't noticed. Why are you?" she murmured, as if wanting to ask why I had become so powerful. "Why?" I smiled and stepped in front of her. "Because I don't want to be a worthless person anyone can manipulate anymore." "Is that reason enough?" I leaned toward her and lowered my voice. "Sophia, do you see? This is the man you chose. A coward who drops you and runs when danger comes. And you, for something like that, gave up on me. Tell me, don't you think you're ridiculous?" Sophia trembled all over, her face deathly pale, her lips quivering, unable to utter a single word. I ignored her and turned toward Emma. Emma was looking at me with an admiring gaze, little stars filling her big eyes. "Ethan, you just now were so handsome." She made me laugh, and I reached out to ruffle her hair. "Of course. Come on, let's not let these irrelevant people spoil our refined mood for tasting wine." I took her hand and returned to the stone table in the courtyard, as if nothing had happened. Only Sophia was left standing alone, lonely in place, watching our intimate backs, and for the first time a feeling called regret showed in her eyes. Since that day, my world became completely peaceful. Victor had one hand broken and no longer had the face to come out and show off. Sophia never showed up again. I heard that Taylor Group's crisis was ultimately only averted after Mr. Taylor swallowed his pride and begged a few old socialite friends for help. Only then did they barely get through it. But the company was left severely weakened, falling from a top-tier family to second-rate. And none of it had anything to do with me. My daily life is studying gourmet food, brewing fine wine, petting cats, and teasing Emma. Little glutton, open your mouth. I picked up a piece of freshly baked osmanthus cake and held it to her lips. Emma's cheeks flushed slightly. She obediently opened her small mouth and took a bite. Delicious. She squinted her eyes in happiness. The special nickname I gave her was Little Greedy Cat, and she, behind my back, secretly called me Big Devil. Because I always liked teasing her, watching her blush, her heart race, and her awkwardness. Our pets were together, even before we were. The little kitten I found clung to a rag doll that Emma raised, never leaving its side, acting like a devoted little follower. That day, Emma's brother's surgery was successful, and he was discharged smoothly. To thank me, she specially prepared an extraordinarily lavish dinner. Every dish was made with her heart and soul. We drank the peach wine I had brewed myself, and the mood was perfect. Emma's cheeks were flushed with a cute pink from the alcohol, and her eyes grew glassy. Ethan, she suddenly spoke, her voice syrupy. Can I ask you a question? Ask. You. Why are you so good to me? She mustered courage and looked into my eyes. I smiled, set down my wine glass, and looked at her seriously. Because you're worth it. You are kind, innocent, and as beautiful as an angel. When I'm with you, I feel comfortable and relaxed. So, I want to treat you well, protect you, and not let you be harmed by anything. My words were plain and sincere. Emma's eyes went red in an instant. She looked at me, and the light in her eyes was brighter than the stars in the sky. Ethan, she suddenly stood up, walked around the table, came to my side, and then, to my stunned gaze, leaned down and gently kissed my lips. Soft, sweet, carrying the fragrance of peach blossom wine. Touch it, and it burns. She blushed, lowered her head, and didn't dare look at me. This is for you as payment. I was stunned for a few seconds, then broke into a wry smile. I reached out, pulled her in my arms, and held her tightly. Stupid girl, this little payment is not enough. I said in a hoarse voice into her ear. You'll have to repay it with your whole life. Her body trembled lightly in my arms. Then, with a voice as thin as a mosquito's, she answered, At that moment, the moonlight outside was just right. The courtyard smelled of peach blossom wine. The beauty in my arms was as soft as jade, and I felt as if I owned the whole world. That was how my relationship with Emma was settled. Life became even sweeter than before. We researched recipes together, brewed wine together, went up into the mountains to pick the freshest ingredients, and curled up on the sofa to watch old movies together. My hot spring villa was filled with laughter and joy every day. Butler looked at us with that ant-like smile always on his face. He told me more than once, Mr. Johnson, you finally seem like a living, breathing person. Yes, the Ethan of before, whether the original owner or me who had just traversed in, was only an empty shell. It was Emma who, with her sunshine and warmth, filled my heart. That day, there was a grand charity gala in the city. The organizer is Grandpa Emma's old friend, and specially sent an invitation asking us to attend. I originally didn't want to go to such a boring event, but Emma said she wanted to take a look. She wants to formally introduce me to everyone she knows. I looked at her expectant eyes, and my heart softened. Okay, I'll do whatever you want. On the night of the banquet, I wore a neat suit, and Emma wore a starry blue evening gown I had specially tailored for her. The hem was dotted with tiny diamonds that glittered under the lights, making her look like a fairy stepped out of the galaxy. The moment we appeared, we drew everyone's attention. Oh my God, who is that man? So handsome. The girl beside him is so beautiful too. They're practically a fairy tale couple. Wait, that man, isn't he from the Johnsons? Ethan. Impossible, right? Isn't Ethan a drunken, good-for-nothing playboy? How could he have such charisma? Amid the crowd's chatter, I walked over to the snack area as if no one else existed, holding Emma's hand and began feeding her various little cakes. This tiramisu is good, try it. This mousse is too sweet, don't eat it. Emma happily enjoyed my feeding, completely unconcerned with the stares around us. The girls beside us, watching our sweet interaction, each covered their mouths excitedly and squealed softly. Ah, so sweet. I'm shipping them. I'm shipping them. What kind of divine love is this? I want a boyfriend who's this handsome and this good at feeding me. At that moment, a discordant voice sounded. Ethan. I turned around and saw a figure both familiar and strange. Sophia. She came too. She was wearing a black evening gown, looking thinner and more haggard than before. Her gaze was fixed intently on my hand holding Emma's, her eyes filled with complicated emotions. Jealousy, unwillingness, and deep regret. Behind her, Victor trailed with a sullen expression. His hand was still in a cast. What a small world for enemies. Something, I said coolly, not bothering to give her even an extra glance. Sophia looked at me, her lips moving as if she wanted to say something. But Victor beat me to it, pointing at me and barking in a bluster that barely hid his timidity. Ethan, you useless piece of trash. What was that sneak attack last time supposed to prove? Today I'll make you learn what happens to anyone who crosses Victor. No sooner had he finished than several bodyguards in black suits pushed through the crowd and formed a tight ring around us. The banquet guests all recoiled in fear, and the scene briefly descended into chaos. Emma clutched my arm a little fearfully. I patted her hand, signaling her to relax. Then I looked at Victor as if he were a buffoon. Is that all? Those few ugly rejects? Victor, it seems the lesson last time wasn't deep enough. Victor was enraged by my contempt. Get him. Take him out. If anything happens, I'll be responsible. A few bodyguards exchanged glances and charged toward me. I shielded Emma behind me, ready to move. Suddenly, an elderly but powerful voice rang out across the venue. Anyone who dares lay a hand on my grandson-in-law, try it and see. As the voice fell, the crowd instinctively parted to form a path. An elderly man in a Zhongshan suit, spirited and imposingly authoritative even without anger, strode over amid a cluster of attendants. At the sight of the old man, the whole venue erupted in commotion. It's Mr. Wilson. The old gentleman came too. My God, it's really Mr. John Wilson. He's a national treasure-level figure. What did he just say? Grandson-in-law? Who is his grandson-in-law? Under the stunned gazes of the crowd, John Wilson walked straight up to us. He first looked at Emma with a loving gaze. Then his eyes fell on me, and he showed a satisfied smile. Kid, not bad. You've got my style from back in the day. Me, Emma blushed, took my hand, and quietly introduced, Ethan, this is my grandfather. I hurriedly and respectfully called out, Hello, Grandpa. John Wilson nodded in satisfaction. Then he turned around, his fierce gaze sweeping toward Victor. It's you, little brat. Try to lay a hand on my grandson-in-law, John Wilson. Victor was completely stunned. John Wilson? That legendary figure with connections that pierced both the political and business worlds? Emma is his granddaughter? Then Ethan, wouldn't that mean? A chill surged from the soles of Victor's feet straight up to the crown of his head. He's finished. He had provoked someone he absolutely could not afford to provoke. Mr. Wilson, it's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. He stammered in terror, his legs going weak as he collapsed to his knees on the floor. Sophia was stunned as well. She looked at Emma, kindly protected by John Wilson, then at Victor, who had fallen to the ground, making a disgrace of himself, and finally her gaze landed on me. The man she had despised, abandoned, and considered useless. At this moment, he stood there, calm and composed, receiving everyone's attention. The girl beside him came from a family 100 times more distinguished than hers. As for him, he was no longer the worthless person she could manipulate. He became strong, became dazzling, became someone she could no longer reach. It turned out the clown had always been herself. It turned out what she missed was a man she could never reach again, the best man in the whole world. A huge remorse, like a tide, completely overwhelmed her. Her vision went black, and she fell straight backward. The farce at the banquet ended with Victor being dragged away by John Wilson's men and Sophia fainting on the spot. The next day, the entire high society circle was stunned. Destiny Group went bankrupt overnight. Victor disappeared without a trace, reportedly having vanished in a thin air. The Taylor Group was also affected. Its stock price plunged again, teetering on the brink of bankruptcy. And I, Ethan, the once city-famous useless playboy, became the focus of everyone's gossip. Young Master Johnson is actually Mr. Wilson's grandson-in-law. No wonder he dared to break off the engagement with the Taylor family. Turns out he's climbed up to a higher branch. What do you mean by climbing the social ladder? Didn't you see how Mr. Wilson treats him? That's admiration. As for Ethan himself, he's certainly not ordinary. I ignored all the outside gossip. I continued living my laid-back life. Only now, there was an officially recognized little wife by my side. We held a small wedding with only close family and friends at the hot spring villa. No lavish display, no media flashbulbs, just warm sunshine and the most sincere blessings. Emma wore a pure white wedding dress, beautiful like a real angel. I looked at her and felt my life was complete. Married life grew even sweeter. Emma fully displayed her mama's girl nature, video calling her mother for an hour every day to share all the little details of our lives. As for me, I became completely absorbed in the winemaking enterprise, unable to extricate myself. My wine cellar was filled with all kinds of wine jars. Wine, rice wine, fruit wine, a dazzling array. Occasionally, I'd open a new jar of wine and sit with Emma in the courtyard, sipping under the moon. Her tolerance for alcohol is still poor. She gets drunk after drinking just a little. When she's drunk, she likes to cling to me and poke my abs, saying I'm her great demon king. And I would always carry her back to the bedroom. And then, restraint. We are a proper, serious story. The epilogue can make up for the wedding night. It was another sunny, bright afternoon. I lay on the rocking chair in the yard, leisurely basking in the sun. Emma leaned against my chest, holding a book in her hands, engrossed in reading. The kitten and the ragdoll cat were at our feet, chasing and playing with each other. The years are tranquil. This is probably what it feels like. Suddenly, Butler walked in, his expression somewhat hesitant. Mr. Johnson, outside. Miss Sophia requests an audience. I opened my eyes and frowned. It's her again. Don't see her, she said. She only wants to see you one last time. Butler said softly, the Taylor family has already filed for bankruptcy. I was silent for a moment. Emma looked up at me and said sympathetically, go see her. Consider it closure. I sighed and kissed her on the forehead. Wait for me to come back. At the gate of the detached courtyard, Sophia was standing there. She wore a plain linen dress, her face unadorned, and her hair was simply tied back. The once icy goddess now looked like an ordinary girl next door. Only her face was written with years of hardship and weariness. You came. Seeing me, she forced a smile more ugly than crying. Something wrong? My tone remained indifferent. I'm leaving here tomorrow. She kept her head down, her voice very soft. Before I go, there's just one question I want to ask you. When exactly did you start becoming like this? She still wasn't reconciled. She wanted to know where exactly she had gone wrong. I looked at her and suddenly found it a little laughable. Sophia, don't you understand by now? I have never changed. The thing that changed was your eyes and your heart. Before, you couldn't see my good qualities. Now that you've lost them, you begin to miss them. Unfortunately, in this world, there is no medicine for regret. After speaking, I stopped looking at her and turned back into the courtyard. Behind me, her muffled sobs could be heard, but I didn't look back. Some people, if missed, are missed for a lifetime. I returned to the courtyard. Emma was holding a little kitten, waiting for me in the sunlight. When she saw me come back, she gave me a radiant smile. I walked over and took her, along with the cat, into my arms. Let's go home. In the sunlight, our shadows were stretched long, very long. From then on, my world contained only good food, fine wine, and her. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. Aren't you allergic to mangoes? I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing. I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. "When did you start smoking?" I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor." I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. "Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level." Frank's eyes widened. "You mean, she's not Mary?" "I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up." 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. "Mary is an only child. We all know that." I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. "George, Mary is going to have a baby," my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that?" I managed to ask. "Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. "It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life." My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. "Mary, could you come here for a moment?" I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. "Did you forget about this?" I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. "George, I can explain." "Explain what?" "Explain that you're not Mary at all." Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. "What's going on with you two?" "Mom, take a look at this." I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. "What's going on?" "Mary, you can't have children." "Of course she can," I sneered, "because she's not Mary at all." My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "I can explain." She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. "That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly." My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. "George, you're being too paranoid." My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. "Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her." "Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby." I looked at her face, identical to Mary's, yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. "All right, I believe you." I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. "Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here?" I probed cautiously. "For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience," my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the 3rd day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. They're after your painting, the private detective asserted, and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hired to win your trust. I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. It's taking too long, Tom said irritably. How much longer until he sells the painting? Don't worry, she soothed him. I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money. You're really pregnant? That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly. Does Annie know the truth? She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help. I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. You don't actually have feelings for George, do you? Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word. Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it. Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell Eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. This is a surprise I prepared for you, I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. To celebrate the new life we're about to begin. She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. It's beautiful, thank you. She smiled as she prepared to put it on. Wait, I stopped her. Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back? She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. What's wrong? Don't you like it? I asked, feigning ignorance. No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved. She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace. I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, after all, this is your final design. Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light. On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon, I replied with a smile. This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it. Mary immediately chimed in. Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future. I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting. Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, Mary. This is my wife, Mary. I took her hand and stepped forward. Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me. She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. Is she really Mary? The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost. I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew. The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was sent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. "Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box," the officer said over the phone. "Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence." A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Frank frowned. "That blood amber is priceless." "That's exactly why," I said firmly. "Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish." For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only 1.5 years. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. "The case is finally over," Frank said. "Are you planning to exhibit your painting?" "Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale." The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. "Mr. George," a stranger's voice called from behind. "Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared." He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. "And you are?" "I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area," she explained with a smile. "I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit." "Thank you." I nodded. "I'll be leaving soon." She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. "That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive." "It's blood amber," I explained, "a very rare gemstone." "I know," she said softly, "top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare." I looked at her in surprise. "You know a lot about jewelry?" She smiled. "I studied jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here." For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. "If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting?" she asked. "My wife," I replied. "She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer." "I'm very sorry," she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. "This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently." She nodded thoughtfully. "Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her." For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. "Sorry, I have to continue my rounds." She glanced at her watch. "See you tomorrow, Mr. George." "See you tomorrow," I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, The exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, the pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall. But there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. Mr. George, thank you for coming. The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. Did you send the email? I asked directly. She nodded. There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me? We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice, and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time, I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, in memory, dedicated to teacher Mary. Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines, with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. New friend? He asked me quietly. Mary's student, I explained simply. Very talented. Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of Teacher Nicole and Teacher George. After the exhibition, the three of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. Mr. George, Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. I've always had a question I wanted to ask you. What is it? After you finished the pursuit, what are you planning to create next? The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since the pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. I haven't decided yet, I answered honestly. It might take some time to find a new direction. Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. Maybe, Nicole said softly, you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further. I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. You mean, creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry? Exactly. Nicole said excitedly, your paintings create emotion in two-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the three-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect. The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, I have to confess something. I looked at her in confusion. I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you, she said candidly. I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion. Her sincerity moved me. You're already on that path, and you're doing very well. Then, may I consult you often? She asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, See, I knew you would find a new direction. When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. Am I really up to the task? She asked me in the studio. You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone, I assured her. That's exactly what I need. In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it. At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's all right, I said with a smile. I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself. Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, Professor George, may I ask you a personal question? What is it? When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, She seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole. I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes. Even though I may never be able to." I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. Thank you, I whispered to Nicole. Without you, this series might never have come into being. It was your philosophy that guided us, teacher Nicole, she replied modestly. I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger. In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. This is an unprecedented opportunity, Frank said excitedly. If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market. I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. Which offer are you planning to accept? One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. To be honest, I'm still hesitating. Nicole paused her work. These are all great opportunities, but what? But I want to keep working with you. She looked straight into my eyes. Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it? Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. You should consider your own career development, I said tactfully. These opportunities are very rare for young designers. Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. I understand. In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. Congratulations, I said sincerely. It's a very good choice. Thank you, she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. I think this is the best arrangement for both of us. Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. Are you really going to just let her go like this? What do you mean? I pretended not to understand. Don't play dumb, man, Frank said bluntly. You have feelings for her. That's obvious. That's just professional rapport, I argued. Is that so? Frank looked at me meaningfully. Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France? I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. I know what you're worried about. Frank lowered his voice. You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you? I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. Mary has been gone for 3 years now. Frank gently patted my shoulder. She would want you to be happy. After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months. Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. This experience has meant so much to me. I should be thanking you, I said sincerely. Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed. We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. My flight is the morning after tomorrow, Nicole finally said. I still have some things to take care of tomorrow, so this is probably the last time we'll see each other. 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there. She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity. What is it? I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works. She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. I didn't know that, I said in surprise. I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion. Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you. I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. Nicole, please don't respond, she gently interrupted me. I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was, I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. Mary, the exhibition was a great success today, I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted. Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me. A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, I've been thinking about something. What is it? If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. Perhaps that's the irony of fate, I said softly. Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings. When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path. Luna, I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talent. Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars, I sighed. Everyone deserves a second chance. That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. You mean? A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration, she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. Love. I finished her sentence. No matter what form it takes. Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration. Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project. We have time, she smiled, holding my hand. We have so much time. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said, love does not disappear, it merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.